Hello again out there in YouTube land and anywhere else. Steve here again with a little chat on something that came across my brainwaves. Somebody I know who's very much into what he would call self-knowledge had a discussion with a guy who's very much into self-development about a week ago. And I thought that was interesting, and he thought they were actually a pretty good pair in a way, self-knowledge and self-development. A lot of times people, I think, in the self-development thing, they call that personal development. Fair enough. So people who do the Tony Robbins thing and the trying to think of the uh, hypnosis, and they're trying to take advantage of what they can do and sort of catapult themselves into the next level, whether that's in sports or finance or their physical health or whatever, right? And I think that to add to the whole personal development / self-development side, I would say it's important to the self-knowledge road as well too. Because imagine, just take the self part of it. Say we're going to, you know, develop a piece of property. Well, the first thing we got to do is know something about the property, right? We have to educate ourselves in, what is the ground level like in terms of digging in it, what kind of foundation is it going to be, and then of course what we're going to put on it. We have to become knowledgeable about all of that first before we can then work on the development of it. Sort of like a first step, I think. So self-knowledge, more and more, I'm more convinced that a good route to go is through the philosophy, because philosophy seems to be about questioning, asking what, where, when, who, these key question starters to try to get to the bottom of what it is that we are and our capabilities. And with these a lot of this questioning, we throw out a lot of the nonsense. My suspicion is that a lot of people who go into the self-development start from this sense of quasi-knowing through of religion and education backgrounds and so on. And though there may be a lot of value in there, there could also be a whole lot of garbage, a whole lot of junk. They could do a major house cleaning. Just like Sherlock Holmes talked about in one of his books, where my son was telling me one time about how he said the mind is like an attic, and we fill it up with all kinds of stuff, but sometimes we got to go through that attic and throw out all the junk, and then we're much more free to move around. And that's what I find that the philosophy does, is it eliminates. And then once they have a lot more a clearer headspace, it's easier to understand the self a bit more, and then have something to develop. Have something to develop because it's not cluttered up. Imagine like we're going to develop a property, right? So we look at it, we realize it's all full of brambles and rocks, and there's swamp in part of it, and there's just poor access. Well, we have to do something about that. We have to sort of do some house cleaning of that lot first. Once we can do that, then we can get a clearer picture on what the development's going to be like, right? That's like the learning process is sometimes like a deconstructing all of the stuff that's in the way and the clutter and so on. And that's what self-knowledge seems to be. It seems like when we clear out a lot of the nonsense, we can get a better look at what we're dealing with, and then we can begin to develop. It's like, not that I'm very good at it, but I've come a long ways in terms of confidence, that's for sure, in public speaking. And when I first started out, I had all these ideas of what this should be, that I got to memorize this, memorize that, and so on. And once I began to experience it and began to look at it more and more and realize and get involved with it, I realized that most of it was just confidence. It wasn't so much, sure it is, there's a lot of other things too, but the biggest thing was just confidence. And a lot of what getting the confidence was with just asking questions like, what is there to fear about it? Are these people actually going to throw rotten tomatoes at me? Probably not. Are they going to laugh at me? No, because it's a group of people who are all in the same boat. They're all cheering you on, basically. So once I realized that getting rid of all that, clearing out that attic of nonsense, that the clearer picture of self was there. And then it was easier to develop that confidence and go forward and do many speeches. So I think just if there's any value there, it's just something I came across because this guy was telling me about this self-development, self-knowledge, and I just related it to, because I've done a bit of building, and related to the building. We got to be able to understand or to get a sense of what the property is, like some knowledge of it, right, before we can develop it. Try to develop without knowledge, then we're running into all this, the bramble bushes and everything else. So I think it's the same with, very similar with ourselves. Get a little more knowledge. And the funny thing of it is that what seems to be the case with people who go down the road of self-knowledge is it's like a greater vista of possibilities of self. So when it comes time for self-development, there's that wide open range of possibilities rather than all the clutter of nonsense that we've been programmed up and filled up with, which was clouding us from a clearer picture of self-knowledge, let's say, and an interruption to personal development or self-development too. Hope this is helpful. Self-knowledge, self-development. What do you think? What's your view on it? If you have any comments, post them down below. Share the video, like the video if you can, if you like it especially. And we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye for now.